On to the other big story. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said that China tried to meddle in its last two national elections, but the results were not impacted, and it was improbable that Beijing preferred any one party over other. Testifying before a commission conducting a public inquiry into alleged foreign interference in the 2019 and 2021 Canadian elections, Justin Trudeau answered questions about intelligence briefings he had received and asserted that the elections were free and fair. Meanwhile, Chinese state media slammed Trudeau's remarks and said that Canada should abandon ideological biases and stop hyping up the lie of Chinese interference. Where does this leave national elections across the world, given that 2024 is a year of elections around the world? And the sanctity of electoral processes, is that now under threat? Is a question that I will pose to two of my guests who are joining me live on this show. First up is Einar Tangen, who's joining us from China. He's a journalist, and we also have Gunjan Singh, who is a professor at the Jindal Global University. Einar, to you first. These are very serious allegations that have been put by the Canadian Prime Minister. He's testified before a public inquiry. He said that he had intelligence input suggesting that China had meddled in its two general elections. Isn't that one of the most serious charges that a government can level on another? National interference?
Well, without providing any proof, it's kind of hard to judge exactly what he's saying. I mean, they always hide behind this notion that somehow national security doesn't allow them to discuss how it was. But, you know, look at what he said. He said that China interfered. Generally, if you interfere, you want one outcome or another. But he said China didn't particularly want either party, or was trying not to favor either party. So exactly what does this, quote, meddling supposed to accomplish? And why is he bringing this to the forefront now? I mean, his popularity is down. It seems to be the fashion these days to somehow say that China is the one at fault when your government can't rule.
Gunjan Singh, this is a very dangerous precedent that could be set because, you know, democracies are vulnerable to such possibilities. And given the advent of technology, such precedents could probably happen at a greater frequency than what all of us can even imagine.
Yes, and the fact that to say that China was not preferring any one party is also taking a very benign outlook towards it. China wanted maybe a minority government in power because minority governments cannot take stronger stance against Chinese politics. So these things have come out in the report. Though the conclusion as of now, till the final report is being filed in the end of the year, so we don't know. But the conclusion as of now is that the elections were overall free and fair. But there were attempts, like I think the 2019, where China apparently financed bus for local Chinese students to go and vote for a liberal person who's sitting as an independent today, and all that. So Chinese have attempted, and of course, democracies are vulnerable because it's a perception. The democracy's votings happen on perception. It's a campaign which takes care, and obviously swaying one perception towards another party can affect local elections and can go beyond what the general or the national problems or national issues are at the moment. So any external factor can impact it, definitely. China has been doing that. Chinese media outlets have been known to influence the diaspora, at least in major democracies. And they have influenced. Because they have a good command, they're directly linked. And the problem we say China is meddling is also because the party has a complete control over what the media is saying and how they influence. So even international media, even the media outlets of Chinese parties are not free as they should be in other countries, as other countries' media operate in foreign land.
Exactly. Einar Tangen, you know, let me then ask you this, that there are multiple reports that are coming in, whether it is in the US, whether it is Microsoft, or whether it is the Canadian Prime Minister testifying in a public inquiry, all seem to suggest that there are increased efforts by the Chinese apparatus to try and meddle into democratic electoral processes. How do you respond to that?
Well, I respond that, you want to say that there are all these rumors that people are saying this. Where's the proof? If you want proof, go to the National Archives, and you'll see that the United States has meddled in the affairs of other countries directly, militarily, and through influence in over 92 countries since the beginning of since the end of World War II. There have been regime change operations. Currently, the National Endowment for Democracy, which was created
So this is
after
rhetoric.
Reagan.
I'm sorry, I have to
It
come
is
in
not
there.
rhetoric.
This is rhetoric.
Do not cut me off. I mean, if you want to cut me off, fine. That is not rhetoric. Look it up on Wikipedia. Look it up in the National Archives. And in terms of the things, if you want to go to Der Spiegel in 2013, the U.S. government was, through their own papers, admitted that they had been bugging not only the software through backdoors, but also the hardware. That was never refuted by the Chinese government. So this idea that somehow China, which has less to spend than the United States, which apparently has $90 billion a year to spend on disinformation through the Department of Defense, going to the CIA, NSA, and various other groups, is somehow the culprit here, is simply the same tactic over and over again. Accuse others of doing exactly what you're doing.
You can't blame me for cutting you off. I let you finish. I disagree, but I did let you finish. But the fact is,
but you're not a commentator. You're supposed to be moderating here.
Yes,
are you taking a side?
I did let you finish.
All right.
Gunjan, as we sort of wrap this up, I want to ask you this: that going forward, given the advent of AI, given that such instances would probably increase, what are the possible options that democracies have? After all, as I said, this is a year where there's going to be 3 very important elections. And we need to sort of take cue from what happened in Canada.
Okay, first, just a quick responder to say that the Americans are doing and the Chinese are not doing, or the Americans have done, so Chinese, if Chinese are doing, it's okay, is also a little problematic trick to take. I'm saying like nobody should meddle in any country's election, like period. It's a democratic system, like and people should be able to decide on which direction they want to vote. AI is making things complicated. At times, the trust factor of what you're receiving, what you're reading, what the campaigns are all about become complicated. China actually has a very strong AI system, AI technology. It's a pretty advanced nation. And it has a history of trying to, like, I'm not saying that they've been successful, but the attempt, or they're trying to meddle in other countries' elections, beginning from Taiwan. They've consistently tried to influence Taiwanese election. The last Taiwanese election was heavily influenced, or there was an attempt to swing the voting in either preferable side to the PRC or the communist government there. So to say that obviously come across major funding or direct, I think even the Canadian case, there are reports that some money did flow from Canada directly and it could be traced to the PRC. And we're still waiting for the final report. So these are still initial findings and initial discussions. Obviously, AI is making it difficult. It's making it difficult for domestic people as well, because we need proper rules, we need proper regulations. We also need certain respect maybe from the international community that we don't do this and then go ahead and deny, basically.
Absolutely.
Just like that.
I'm afraid we're completely out of time here. I will have to come in there. Thanks much to both of you. All I can say is that Canada is a G7 country. If such allegations can come in for a G7 country, one can only wonder what happens to the rest. With that, we're completely out of time in this edition of India Global. Thanks much for watching.